The time of love is here. Let these troubles days be done. I tell you, come on, everybody. Come on, everyone. The time of love is here. Let these troubled days be done. I often sit and wonder how things could be this way. I guess we'd better tell them this is a brand new day. Don't leave it up to the other man or to another day. Take your life into your hands. Make it work out your way. It's not the number of times you stumble down and fall upon the ground. It's the number of times you keep yourself up. Keep on moving on. Reach your goal. Come on, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Guten Morgen. Guten Morgen. My little German is coming out, the little German that I know. Guten Morgen, haben Sie eine Vorlesungsverzeichnis. Good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Herbert Harris, and this is Wisdom Wednesday. Thank you so much for being with us today. You know, our conversations are based on our book, The 12 Universal Laws of Success. We thank you so much for joining us on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 a.m. On Monday, we have Motivation Monday. And starting next month, starting in May, it's going to be called Meditation Monday. We're going to do a little meditation on Monday to help program our weeks. Beautiful. Yes, yes, yes. Dr. J is in the house. Let me make sure I got it right here. Except.
Hi, Dr. H.
There we go. Guten Morgen. Guten Morgen.
How are you?
I am great today.
Great.
How are you?
I am committed to the process.
When you said commitment, that was just a topic that resonated with me. Let me do our commercial. Let me invite everybody to go and visit our website to get your copy of the 12 Universal Laws of Success. And this is the perfect gift for anybody that you really care about. And to be sure to check out the Success Toolbox at herbertharris.com. It has everything you need to get anything you want. So now, when you said commitment, that just resonated with me. And one of the reasons, you know, yesterday Harry Belafonte passed. And he was such a giant. He represented a level of commitment that was, I mean, it was life-altering. You know, I was watching an interview and they were saying, when did he become an activist? You know, I did not know that his record, the Calypso record with Deo, was the first album to sell 1 million copies in America. And I often wondered why, you know, as a child, Belafonte was bigger than life. But I did not know that until all that was at 50 or 60 years of recorded music. And he was the first one, he had the first album to sell 1 million copies. That was amazing. Let's see, did we get our technical stuff? Let me try again.
I'm back. See. Okay. It just kind of claimed, but I don't know why it turned off.
Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah. But anyway, when you said commitment, I thought about Belafonte and how committed he was. They asked him, when did he become an activist, you know, from being an entertainer to being an activist? He said, no, I was born an activist. I'm an activist who became an entertainer. And he was one that was so committed to civil rights. I mean, it was amazing. They were sharing a story of how, you know, and racism, you know, in America, until we learn to deal with it, it's going to be amazing. But he was saying how he had applied for a co-op in Manhattan, and they denied him because of his race. And he turned around and bought the building and gave the penthouse to Lena Horne. And that's something. So he had a level of commitment to change, a commitment to equality that was just amazing. And so when you said that topic, I so much jumped into my head. So what were your thoughts on commitment, Doc? Interesting. Well, our technical stuff is going to be coming around. Let me see if I can. We must be on a really heavy topic, because when the internet fights back, we know that something is up. There we go.
I'm going to be committed to coming on all the time, because I keep getting bumped off for whatever reason. So in terms of why I wanted to do the topic, I think for a lot of people, the word commitment is a fleeting word. They don't know what it means. They don't understand that commitment means working through the discomfort of when things are not going your way. They don't understand that commitment means saying no to things so you can say yes to the better things. I don't think people understand commitment means that if you want to have a great business, you have to have great relationships with people, and you have to treat people with kindness, not just because you want something out of people. I don't think that people understand that commitment means that when you are engaging in your truth, that you stay truthful to who you are and stay in the moments where you said you were going to do what you were going to do, even when you announced it to the world. And you no longer have any money, you no longer have any energy, you no longer have any more will, but you still have to get up and do. I think people use the word commitment as a way to look and feel important, but they never do the important work.
You know, Doc, that's some powerful stuff. Winston Churchill, I think, said that commitment is doing what you said you would do long after the feeling in which you said
Absolutely
has passed away. You know, in relationships, you know, you hear the term, are you in a committed relationship? And I wonder, you know, like, what does that mean? Are you in a committed relationship? Or in watching some of the divorce courts and the, was it the paternity court, the judge often asks, you know, when stuff happens, well, were you in a committed relationship? And I've never heard a person say, nope, we're not. Yes, I was in a committed relationship. Yeah. Well, why were you cheating? Why are you doing this if you were in a committed relationship? And I think it just shows up the idea that we often use the word with such lack of understanding and lack.
Because I think sometimes people think the word commitment means happy, or the word commitment means that you're staying. Commitment means that you have to work through the discomfort while trying to stay. That's what commitment is. And so many of us, I'm in this personal transformation work. I've always been in it, but I'm in it from a different perspective now, because I think as I get older, and it's been 15 years since I lost my husband, I can tell people that I'm committed to making sure that I live a healthy, mentally sound life. This is not a game for me. It's not a profession for me. This is my experience of life. And so many people, when life gets hard, after they've had their crisis, after the first year or the second year, they don't want to do anything to make their life better. They just want to stay in that state of grief, or they want to stay in that state of shock, or they want to stay in that state, and that state of inability to move, not recognizing that they're the ones who have to commit to a better life. There's nobody else that's gonna, like, I can't drag you into a better life experience. I can share mine, but I can't drag you. I'm committed to helping whoever is ready to be helped. I'm not committed to
Yeah.
help, to convincing people that they need the help.
Yes. Now, you just said a mouthful there, Doc. Commitment is a
Absolutely.
personal decision. Nobody
No.
can make a commitment for you. Commitment is a choice that you make. And, you know, I was looking at 3 levels of commitment, like kind of 3 components of it. And one was affection. In other words, you have to commit to something that you believe in, something that you like, you know, something that you want to see, something that you want to create, want to experience. So you have Dr. King, for example, had a commitment to a vision. Harry Belafonte had a commitment to a vision. A part of his vision was supporting Dr. King's vision. Many people didn't know it, but Harry Belafonte was a driving force behind that We Are the World recording. And if you look at you'll see him in the chorus, but he was a driving force behind it. And he was one of the few people with a big enough stature to bring all of those diverse people together. And so that idea of commitment being a decision on your part, a personal decision to follow a particular course of action. And though it's made emotionally, you really have to weigh certain things. For example, many times people will make a commitment, and the second side of aspect of commitment is a fear of loss. That the moment you, for example, in relationships, the moment you commit to one person, okay, then that means that you've now said the other people will not have that type of relationship with you. And this is a committed relationship. And so many times people will get into that a relationship, I like you, but then that fear of loss, somebody comes around and, you know, there was a line we wrote many years ago, and it says, ain't no woman fine enough to keep me from you. So that fear of loss, so many times, especially men, can get distracted on the path by beautiful people, women, whatever, you know, pulling them away. So that idea of that fear of loss. And then a third aspect of commitment is really a sense of obligation. You know, when you're a caregiver, for 17 years, I cared for my aunt. I was a caregiver. Now, when I made the initial decision, number one, I didn't think it was going to be actually 17 years. I made the decision in the moment because she needed me. But as time drew on, that commitment to her transformed my life. So I had to change things. I couldn't travel like I used to. So there was a sense of sacrifice, but it was really based on that obligation that I had made to be her caregiver. And so when you think about those 3, that it's something you care about, something you value, that there may be an aspect of loss and sacrifice, and that once you made a commitment, there's an obligation to stay because people rely on your commitment. A lot of the hurt that people experience is because another person's lack of commitment, when one person's relying on that commitment, and then the other person does not honor the commitment, that brings about pain. So it's a deep topic.
I like the concept of the obligation, and I kind of want to open up that a little bit more, because most people think about obligation as a sacrifice and not as an investment. And unfortunately, if you keep looking for life as a sacrifice, I hear people all this time, the parents say, you know, I sacrificed this for you. And I always ask parents to change the language. You invested this time, this money, and this effort so your child could be this. And when we see commitment as an obligation, we have to see it as an investment in whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish. the work that we do, it is the obligation is an investment in transforming people's lives. And by extension, our lives are transformed because we have a consistent interpersonal interaction with people who are on the wavelength of trying to change who they are and what they've done. But a lot of us are fearful to be obligated because we don't want people to hold us accountable to what we said we were going to do a long time ago. And it's very interesting because if you say that you want to improve your life, you have to be committed to making the investments on a daily basis. And a lot of people don't make the investments on a daily basis. They keep making withdrawals on a daily basis.
Ooh, wow. And you keep making withdrawals, soon you become bankrupt.
So your mind becomes bankrupt, your body becomes bankrupt, and it's hard to see people make a choice of not committing to the growth that they want. That is one of the hardest things it is. And I have to remind people, and I'm very, the word that I was listening to Jim Rohn about 3 days ago, and he was talking about the mentor he had that was very blunt, you know, and we hear the word blunt as if people don't care. But sometimes the word blunt, especially when it comes to commitment, is, are you going to do what you said you were going to do? It's getting straight to the facts. So what are we doing here?
Yes.
You know, are we committed to the growth? Or are we committed to the excuses? Because we can't do both and be successful.
Well, you know, I think one of the first commitments is to yourself. Commitment to maintaining a level of integrity. Commitment to maintaining a level of compassion. Commitment to maintaining a level of activity. Wow. And so, you know, when you look at it like that, and you were saying that commitment requires you to enter upon a certain mindset, a certain emotional set, certain habits, and certain relationships. And it's always a choice on your part to do so. Yeah. So when a person commits to personal growth and they don't believe in the process, for example, you know, the farmer who plants corn must understand the process for the growth of corn. that it takes 60 to 90 days to grow from seed time to harvest time.
Dr. H, because a lot of people plant their corn and walk away from their harvest.
Ooh, wow. Yes. And some plant the corn and then let the weeds consume it.
Some of us are not committed to reaping. We're committed to sowing. So people will sow tithes, they will pay for your program, but they will never make the commitment to finish the program. So they can never reap the benefits of what they sowed. And that's where that's the difference between your results, the committed process of growth.
Yes. And the idea of results is you have to be committed not only to the sowing,
I'm telling you, but
to the harvesting. So that means that you must be committed to do the things necessary to facilitate the harvest. So be committed to pull up the weeds. You must be committed to provide water and make sure that the things necessary for your crop to grow are available. Yes. And that may require, but you know, you said something that you said many times people look at commitment from a sacrifice perspective. But when you look at commitment from the harvest perspective, then it's not a sacrifice.
I'm telling you.
It's an investment.
And I think when I lost my husband, I never, like, you know how people say to kids, you know, I'm a single parent and all that stuff. I don't see myself as a single parent. I see myself as raising a community child. I don't ever see myself in, I don't ever see myself sacrificing my career for my child. I invest in my career for my child. I invest my time for my child. So I think when there's language. Well, we've talked about this. We cast spells with our words. If people understand, the root word of spelling is spell, to cast out. There's power in the way in which we speak about these things: commitment, sacrifice, investment.
Yes. Yes.
And once we start to pay attention to those words that we're using, we stand a way better chance of actually executing on the goals that we said we were going to do. But we're so like, I am at the point in my life, Dr. H, that if somebody says to me, this is what we're doing, and the first thing that we start to do is you tell me how it can't be done, I have limited resources and emotional tolerance to even start engaging with you. Because you've already made that decision.
Yes.
That even though we said we're going to work together, you're telling me how it's not going to work. But then it means that we don't work together. Because I've made the commitment, you started to look at the sacrifice. It's going to start sacrifice. It means that you're going to have to spend more time doing something. It means that you're going to have to find an alternative solution versus the easiest solution. Then you're not committed, you know. At this point, you're not committed. You're interested in making excuses as to why something can't work.
Wow. Yeah. That's profound, Doc. That's deep. I think we have Linda Tate. I think that's Linda Tate, 8166. That may be my friend.
I'm afraid
Linda from
to touch
Chicago.
my screen, Dr. H. I'm committed to staying on, so I'm not even sure. I'm just committed for us to finish this without any more interruptions.
Yes. Well, you know, that personal commitment to yourself is probably the most challenging, because all of you always bring yourself to the party. You know, so you can make it a pity party or a power party. The choice is your attitude and your perspective. And so for our listeners, that commitment, for example, commitment to personal growth, commitment that every day and every way I'm getting better and better, you know, that commitment to excellence, that everything I do to the best of my ability. That commitment to completion, that whatever I start, I'm going to finish it. I'm going to get it done. And you know, you in the area, you and your I love watching you in your gym and doing your exercises. And I think that's one of the areas that so many people make a commitment. You know, I was a member of the Y for many years, and I think subconsciously I thought that if I paid my dues every month, that I would get benefits of going to the gym.
I realized that if you paid your dues, the commitment was actually going to the gym, and the commitment was actually doing the things that you need to do to have a different body. I think we're committed to the introduction of the experience, but we're never committed to the actual experience.
The manifestation of it. Because anytime you're committed to something, whatever that thing is has a life of its own, has a season of its own, as the planter and the farmer has a season of its own. In personal relationships, it takes a while to get to know people. It takes a while, you know. Steve Harvey said, don't get too intimate, you know, for at least 90 days to see who that person really is, because so many times we operate from the physical attraction, you know, the perspective of, man, I sure would love to be with you. But to look beyond that, you might say, physical or temporal experience, what does that really mean? You know, that is this something a person that I really want to share all of my essence with when I don't even know who they are yet? that's a touchy subject, because the tendency is sort of just to jump into it, to get into it. And so often there's like this conflict when a person is very aware of their own being, when they take the time to say, look, I take you at face value based on who you say you are, but I'm going to take my time observing you in every aspect so that I will know who you truly are.
And that level of commitment always yields the best results, because you're committed to ensuring that you only put the best of anything in your life. You see, that's the biggest part. People are so afraid to require the best in their life.
Well, you know, that aspect, that fear of loss, I think really impacts the commitment, because, you know, you fear losing your freedom to be with other people. Even when you're committed to a job, you know, you fear the loss that somebody leaves your job and now they're making twice as much as you. That the commitment to the fear of loss, even when you look at Harry Belafonte, Paul Robeson, Nelson Mandela, when you look at people who are committed to, and you know, we often hear the term speak truth to power. Well, there's always a price of speaking truth to power. So when we look at Belafonte, if you really look back on his career, once he came out in support of Dr. King, his career really tapered down. He had already made his mark, so he was never forgotten. But even Nelson Mandela had been a lawyer, and once he made a stand for justice, he spent, 27 and a half years in prison. And so the idea of a commitment, especially when we talk about speaking truth to power, means that there's whatever commitment you make, there may be a sacrifice. And that sacrifice is really just based on the choices and how strongly you are committed to it. So Mandela, really and truly, all he had to do was basically renounce, you know, everything that he believed in, except whatever definition the apartheid government had. And he could have walked out of there, but the commitment was to that idea of something he truly believed. He was willing to make the sacrifice, but then after sacrifice comes blessings. So he literally walked out of prison into the presidency. Wow. But this has been an interesting piece here. As a personal trainer, I'm sure people come to you and want you to work miracles with their bodies. But their bodies, that transformation of your body has a cycle of its own. Once again, you know, your muscles develop, your strength develops. And so how do you encourage people to hang in there? And what makes them continue with your program to get the results they say they want?
I think one of the things is that I just remind people about what their commitment was when they initially came. And I asked them, are you willing to stay in this space? And if the answer is no, then you don't need to be working with me. Because you see, this is the thing, right? A lot of people think that when we're asking people to commit and we're reminding people how to commit, that I must then force you to stay in the know of the commitment. See, that's not my responsibility. My responsibility is to remind you of what you said you were going to do long after the excitement of wanting to do it has waned. And then it's also my responsibility to remind you of what your outcome, you said your outcome is going to be. Because the disconnect of commitment to actually the process is seeing the results, or creating the results, or designing the results. Because that's what we do. In life, we design the results that we want. I keep saying this as I get older. There are no rules. Everybody has created the things, and then behind it, they have created standards to live by. But this world, the only rules we have are the rules about your biological and physiological and spiritual system. And that's all encompassing of who you are as an individual. But if somebody comes to me and say, well, I wanted to do this, but now I can't do this, I'll remind you of what you committed to, but then I'll also remind you of where you are going. But I will never try to persuade you of what your commitment is, because if you can't commit to yourself, I can't persuade you to be committed to you. And that's why people stay stuck, because they keep working with people who trying to convince them that they need to work with them. You've never tried to convince me that I needed to work with you. You said like, just show up or don't show up. And when you show up, this is the greatness that you get. And when you don't show up, here's what you missed, just in case you're interested. You know, and then you live by the example. And I think I'm very much like that with people in commitment. If you say you want something, what are you willing to invest in? Not what are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to invest in so you can create the reality that you say you want to create? There ain't nobody else putting them ideas in your head but you. Yeah.
Wow. Doc, I think that's a paradigm shift to the idea from sacrifice to investing. So when you have a commitment, that commitment is to a state of mind, a commitment to a physical body type, a commitment to a relationship, a commitment to a business. Welcome, Sade. If you can't promises to yourself, then who can you? Hey, I hear you. If you can't honor your own commitments to yourself, then anything else is superfluous. I don't think people get that, Dr. Ish. I don't think people, and this goes back to the topic, and I know we're wrapping up, the topic that you said, just now, about the responsibility of when you are becoming and being an individual, right? And so part of it, we forget ultimately how that being is a commitment. It's a commitment. There's nothing else. So, I just want to encourage people to, if you say you're going to be committed, really evaluate what the word commitment means to you. And as you're evaluating, maybe just go ahead and add the word investment in the word next to commitment. What am I willing to invest in creating the person I want to be? Am I willing to invest the money to get the education? Am I willing to invest the time necessary to learn, to practice, to master? Am I willing to invest the mindset? We have to reprogram our minds. We have our affirmation poster, and I look at it all the time, the 12 affirmations to live by. And sometimes you have to, I believe in myself. I have to be invested in, I believe in myself. I believe in the process. And whatever I think a key thing about the commitment is to be totally clear of what it is. What is the objective of your commitment? Belafonte was clear. His commitment was to equality and justice. Dr. King was clear. His commitment was to equality and justice. Whatever the thing is that you want to be, do, and have, be so clear about it that you can resonate with it, to create that harmonic relationship with it, to give you the strength that the higher your desire, the greater the ability to manifest that which is the object of your commitment. Well, Doc, what a great day. You lay some topics on, folks. You are truly a transformative leader, a transformative figure. Down in Barbados and around the world, I see your seminars. And so I say to our listeners, thank you so much for being with us today. Any final words, Doc?
Stay true to the commitment you made at the beginning of the year. That's for anybody who needs to hear that.
Yes, stay true. Wow. And for ourselves, thank you so much for being with us today. Be sure to go and visit our website, get your copy of the 12 Universal Laws of Success. Yes, be sure to get your book and get that success toolbox. We were looking at some results and reviews on the success toolbox, because once you enter upon this journey, it's important to have all the tools you need to get anything you want, so that truly you can be what you want to be, do what you want to do, and have anything you desire, always knowing that the best is yet to come. Thank you so much, folks. Share this broadcast with others. Write some comments. Talk about the things that you're committed to and how you are committed to creating the person you truly want to be. And so it is. Take care, Doc.